Welcome back to Risk and Reward. Hedge fund manager and author of Death of Money is here. Tomorrow is the official publication date in the U.S. Jim Rickards with me now in a Fox Business exclusive. I mean, this is a pretty frightening book. You're talking about the collapse of the dollar. That's one of the first phrases in there. What does a collapse mean to you?
Well, collapse is really a loss of confidence, and we've seen this before. The dollar came very close to collapse in 1978, and I talk about that in the book. The international monetary system actually has collapsed 3 times in the past 100 years.
What's challenging about this is now basically our goods cost so much more because we're pricing them in euros. And so we're no longer competitive with the rest of the world. They felt like this was not a good solution.
Yeah, but that's changing. Sebastian's right that unit labor costs have to come down, but they are coming down. They're down 40% in Greece. They're down 25% in Spain. There's Chinese capitals coming in. Unit labor costs are coming down. Youth labor is coming into the workforce. This is going to be...
Youth labor is coming into the workforce?
Yes.
I mean, have you seen the youth unemployment rates in places like Italy and France?
When the unemployment rate's that high, you can grow way above trend because you can bring them back into the labor force.
The U.S. is certainly very far from any physical conflict with Russia. Our next guest says the U.S. has moved in the direction of financial war, and it has implications for investors, too.
Well, financial warfare is really all we have. No one thinks there are going to be boots in the ground in Sevastopol. But if the U.S. does something more extreme, freezing Putin's assets, freezing Russian state assets, et cetera, which are flowing through the financial system, they'll strike back.
He knows what he's talking about. Joining us now is Jim Rickards. He is Tangent Capital Partners Senior Managing Director and author of the book, Currency Wars. You think the British pound is headed for a crisis. How so? What is it?
I think that's the next, if there is a currency crisis, we'll certainly have one sooner than later because they happen from time to time. I think sterling is sort of in the eye of the storm.
Why?
They have very little gold to back them up, and Carney has announced he's just going to print money until he hits these targets. They're using monetary solutions to structural problems, so they may never get there. They may just print so much money that investors lose confidence.
How do you see it?
The unemployment rate was coming down, but the employment situation was not good because labor force participation was collapsing. The number of people working in the United States is no higher than it was 14 years ago. So,
what's ahead for the world's second biggest economy? We duke it out at our bull versus bear debate. Jim, you're not worried about the latest numbers that came out of China that worry some?
I'm very concerned about them. I think China is going to slow down significantly. You know, China is about 10% of global GDP. So if you slow down China, you're going to slow down the whole world. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Jim Rickards, author of Currency Wars, notes the Fed is insolvent on a mark-to-market basis. The Fed has wiped out its capital on a mark-to-market basis. Of course, the Fed carries these notes on its balance sheet at cost and does not mark them down to market. But if they did, they would be broke. Jim Rickards explains this phenomenon. Market participants and policymakers rely on market prices to make decisions about economic policy. What happens when the price signals upon which policymakers rely are themselves distorted by prior policy manipulation? This is the blind leading the blind, he says.
Congressman Paul got me really intrigued with the Federal Reserve, and I've spent a substantial amount of time reading about Currency Wars, the book by James Rickards. But Congressman Paul is the individual on the stage that got me most interested in a subject that I've found to be quite interesting and at the root of a lot of the problems that we have, and I thank you for that.
There's absolutely an effort on the part of the United States government and others to manipulate the price of gold. And we did it through gold sales. So the proof is there. If you were going to put gold back in the center of the international monetary system, the price would have to be $9,000 or $10,000 per ounce in order to support world finance. The United States doesn't want that. We want a dollar system where we can print the dollar. This vault is cut into solid bedrock. There's only one very narrow way in or out. Most of the gold that's there has been there for a very long time and doesn't move around.